for anybody that is possibly unfamiliar, Griffin Conine is the son of Jeff Conine, of Mr. Marlin, of the one that is still working with the Marlins organization at this point and had a brilliant major league career. Conine, his son, Griffin, has been with the Marlins org for over 4 years now. He was drafted way back in 2018 by the Blue Jays, traded over for, I'm curious how many people actually know this off the top of their head. He was traded at the deadline in 2020 in exchange for Jonathan Villar. Despite the team being in contention, they were willing to, the failed Jonathan Villar experiments, they were willing to cut that short to bring in Conine, who at that point was still a far way away from the big leagues. And since then, he's been one of the most prolific home run hitters in the organization. In his first full year, actually his first minor league year period as a Marlins prospect, he was right up there with the minor league home run leaders overall. 36 bombs in 2021 between high A and double A. That to date is his best overall season as a Marlins prospect. It was controversial a couple of years ago when he was eligible for the Rule 5 draft and the Marlins left Griffin unprotected. Like, any team could have claimed him. And that was a highly debatable one, I remember at the time, because he was so productive and he had that one standout tool in his power. It is plus power, and his power to all fields too. If you check back some of the stuff that we posted earlier this year when he's had some hot streaks even this season where it really goes from foul line to foul line, he could hit it out. And when he really slugs it, the top end exit velocities are right up there with a Jake Berger type. Not quite, I guess, a smidge below Jesus Sanchez. If you call him up, well, now that he's up with the team, he is in that similar tier to those guys, if not like a tiny notch below in the power department.
Here comes the pitch for Conine. He sends it opposite field out to left. Bernard looking, and
here's the pitch, and it's hit in the air to left field. A high drive, Peyton back, he'll turn, watch, and we are tied as Conine has a home run.
Right-hander fires, pitch is swung on, sent to center. Ortega with a long run, back into his left, up on the wall, it's gone.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. High fly ball deep to right field. There it is again, and Griffin Conine leaves no doubt. His 5th straight day with a home run.
He's been in this organization a long time. He has got his first taste of AAA last year, and then this year spent the entire season with AAA Jacksonville. 112 games this year alone, nearly 600 minor league games overall in this in minor league baseball period. And there have been ups and downs, as I mentioned. He had a birthday last month in July, and coincidence or not, he went into a pretty deep slump during the few weeks right after that. That brought his numbers back down to earth a little bit. And they were calling him up coming off a high note, where in last night's game, drove in 4 runs, drew a couple walks in that one. He's been better over these last couple of weeks coming out of that slump that he was in previously. Over his I'm looking at the last 10 games, Conine hitting .414 with an 1101 OPS. I have to admit, I was overlooking that a little bit. I could not have told you off the top of my head whether he was particularly hot or cold lately because he has been so inconsistent. That is part of it. They are calling him off of a hot streak at a time where, as I alluded to earlier, there's so many guys on this roster right now that aren't part of the future that were just claimed off waivers in recent weeks. It really wouldn't kill them to squeeze them off the roster to make room for somebody else, especially if it's somebody that is performing and that hasn't had his opportunity yet. Now, he is 27 years old at this point, which means, and he got his taste of AAA last year and repeating it this year. He's not on our top 30 prospects list. Let's just say that when we recently updated it a few weeks ago, especially in the current state of the improved state of this farm system. He gets buried a little bit despite being so close to the big leagues. At the same time, I'll be curious to see exactly what the corresponding move is. But this is a move that, because of how long he'd been in professional baseball, Conine was due to be a minor league free agent after the season. Like, he was prepared to just be gone if he had not been selected to their 40-man roster at the very least. And now in this case, getting called up to the active roster as well as we await these corresponding moves. Might as well just see what you have in him right here to see if something sticks, to see, like, he's not a lock to be a long-term piece of this organization in any role. And quite frankly, depending on how this stint goes, he could be out of this organization by the end of the regular season if it doesn't go particularly well. But this is the part of the year where, as a fan, you're hoping, you're just thinking to yourself, why not give it a shot? Why are you running out? I mean, not to disparage any of the current position players on the roster, but guys, for the unknown is a lot more attractive than the known commodities at this point. And he at least has that one standout tool in his power. He does have, in my opinion, solid defense in the corner outfield spots, if not slightly above average, mainly due to his arm strength. That's something there. I have not mentioned it yet, but the reason why he's not a highly regarded prospect at all is the strikeout issues. That's what has held him back. That is what has raised skepticism about him from anybody that knows ball and follows this stuff. He has been striking out over the course of his minor league career more than 1/3 of his plate appearances, right around 34%, 35 off the top of my head. That's just untenable. If you look across the big leagues at the major league level, there are a very small handful of players that strike out around that level and are even close to being average players. And the insinuation, and I think the reasonable leap to make, is that if he's striking out that much in the minor leagues against AAA pitching, he's going to strike out a lot more in the big leagues against big league pitching and the improved stuff that they have up here. So it will take a pretty big adjustment. It would be honestly defying the odds if he had success here because of that. Because even though knows the strike zone relatively well, it should be noted that strikeout rate in a volume in a vacuum doesn't tell you everything. Like, he does draw walks at a above average rate pretty consistently, including this season. And you want to look at like the discrepancy between those numbers, where if you walk more, you're going to be getting on base at a certain clip, and it helps offset the strikeout issues that he's had to this point in his career to some extent. So that helps a little bit. That being said, there's just a lot of swing and miss, even on pitches in the strike zone or pitches near the strike zone, where if he's having that much trouble with minor league pitching, probably will in the big leagues as well. With all that being said, I'll go back to what I've been saying a few minutes ago. You might as well find out. You might as well give him a shot to prove you wrong. And especially in this course of the season, a pretty comfortable landing spot too, getting called up right as the team is going to Coors Field when they're playing a Rockies team that is just as bad as they are, if not slightly worse. So the talent level that he's going up against, it should be a soft landing spot, you would think. As long as he's putting balls in play, those balls are going to carry longer in Coors Field than they would anywhere else. Hopefully it's not that long of a wait for him to get that first hit, to get that first home run. And you would think at the very least, as a courtesy to his dad, that he's going to stick on this roster for the rest of the regular season, right? For these final 5 weeks. Even if he goes like 0 for 30, they're not going to cut him earlier than they have to, I wouldn't think. But it's just great to see that somebody gets rewarded like this, who's been in this organization for so long.